On this week's Gadget Show Web TV, John's got hold of the Dell Streak, I bring you this week's best tech news and check out some great ways to play some classic retro games. Hello and welcome to this week's Web TV. Coming up later in the show, we found some websites where you can get your gaming nostalgia on. But first, John's got the new Dell handset, the Streak, which is a bit of a smartphone tablet hybrid and boasting impressive specs. It's supposed to challenge the likes of the iPhone 4 and the iPad in one fell swoop. But John, not listening to the hype or hearsay, has taken it away for some Bentley testing.
This is Dell's new supersized smartphone, the Dell Streak. Basically, it's got a 5-inch touchscreen, it runs Android and is a cross between a tablet and an oversized phone. I didn't expect to like it at all, but actually, having played with it for the last few days, I found it quite endearing. You have to make your own judgment on whether the size is suitable for you. If you normally carry around a bag or a jacket, I think it is quite good. It easily fits into a large pocket, helped by the fact that it's only 10 millimeters thick and weighs a reasonably modest 220 grams. I think it's less good as something to put in your trousers pocket where it either doesn't quite comfortably fit or sort of leaves uncomfortable looking bulges, feeling as though you're carrying around a ceramic tile. The actual screen is made out of Gorilla Glass, which is apparently very tough and scratch resistant. At 5 inches, the screen's 1.5 inches bigger than most top-end smartphones, and you really do notice the difference when you're web browsing or video viewing. 480 by 800 pixel resolution is okay, although maybe it's not quite big enough for a proper sort of book reading type of experience. There are up to 6 home screens, which Dell call rooms, that you can customize with the normal sort of email, Facebook, Twitter widgets and so forth. And the whole thing feels very quick. It's got a 1 gigahertz processor, and compared with a benchmark iPhone 4 loading the Gadget Show's web page over the same Wi-Fi connection, you can see it's practically as quick as the iPhone. Web browsing is generally very good and the screen is pretty responsive, though there are a few grumbles. This is an older version of Android, 1.6, so you don't get Flash support. The keyboard, although it's very comprehensive, particularly in landscape orientation with its separate number pad, is very fiddly and you find yourself making lots of mistakes. Also, the text on web pages doesn't display and adjust in size so fluidly as it does, say, with HTC's Desire. I also miss the trackball or trackpad you get on most Android phones. On the positive side, there's a good contacts management system. You can choose which contacts you want to show, whether to include your Gmail ones, for example. And call quality and reception are good, and there's also an OK 5-megapixel camera. I say OK because I find the stills are slightly too over-sharpened for my taste, and the standard definition video is a bit wobbly, partly because it's only 20 frames per second. Though one of the really good features about the Streak is you get Google's free turn-by-turn navigation system included with the Google Maps. Although when you're looking at the maps, you do actually miss the pinch and zoom slightly. That again is because this is an older version of Android. Battery life's pretty good for a smartphone. You find it comfortably lasting the day. There's an acceptable music player, a 3.5mm headphone socket, though unfortunately no FM radio, and the sound from the speaker, although it's pretty loud, is disappointing in quality considering they had such a relatively large box to put it in. Overall, though, I really like the Streak. It's just I think it could and should be a bit better. And before I can wholeheartedly recommend it, I think Dell need to tweak the interface a bit, and it needs to be running a later version of Android.
Right, it's time for the news. Sony have just unveiled their latest camera range, which takes advantage of the company's 3D technology. They are the WX5 and the TX9, which are the updates to the WX1 and the TX1. These will be the first ever 3D CyberShot compact cameras from Sony. Along with the cameras will be an all-new 3D panorama mode, which means that you can take a 3D snapshot and play it back in 3D on a compatible TV. And 3D aside, the WX5 and TX9 have 12.2 megapixel sensors. It's a superior auto mode, which makes taking those snapshots all that easier, and HD video of up to 720p. The screen size comes in at 2.8 inches on the WX5 and a very impressive 3.5 inches on the TX9. They both have a UK release date of September and pricing will be announced soon. Right, next up, Acer has updated their Z5710 and Z5700 all-in-one touchscreen PCs, bringing in the latest Intel Core i7, i5 and i3 processors to the devices. And with all-in-one PCs currently performing strongly, Acer want to keep their range up to date with this new 16:9 23-inch multi-touch display, which is backed up by Windows 7 and has lots of Acer touch gadgets, including a browser and media utilities. And Acer have said with the extra power, it means you can use more gesture combinations for a wider range of functionalities and a more natural and intuitive approach. And with a simple touch, you can flick, rotate, magnify and more, making the experience faster, more instinctive and all round more fun. And specs-wise, you have the option of up to 2 TB of storage, Intel Core's i7 processor, and up to 8 GB of DDR3 RAM. So, if you want to get your hands on one of these, they have a UK release date of the 1st of August. Right, with the Xbox 360, Wii and PS3 all dominating our living room, gaming is a phenomenon that we just can't hide from. Even games of yesteryear have got a huge following, with all 3 of these consoles offering classics through their online services. And now there's even a wealth of websites and apps all offering you some amazing titles for those of us that want to relive our gaming youth. So, as ever, I found my favourite websites and apps for that retro fix, whether it's beating the high score on Tetris or reliving those classic moments with Mario. Now, first up is something that will suit all of you that were already into video gaming way back in the early 80s. It's ZXSpectrum.net. The Spectrum was a console that defined gaming for a generation, and now all of that can be relived straight through a website that comes preloaded with literally hundreds of titles dating from 1982 right up until the current day, all of which you can play straight from within the browser. Here's one of my favourites. This is Jet Set Willy. You play Miner Willy, who is tasked to pick up items left around his house after a party. It may be quite simple compared to games of nowadays, but I can tell you it's loads of fun. Now, one of my favourite games from back in the day was Prince of Persia, which has now become a huge franchise for the PS3 and Xbox 360, not to mention the recent movie spin-off. Now, if you want to go back to basics of where it all began, the best way to do it is to get the game on the iPhone at just 59p. The game now uses Apple's intuitive touchscreen controls and allows you to share your progress with your friends through Facebook. It truly is one of the all-time classics when it comes to video games. This is the game that so many other platform games have based themselves around, but very few have managed to capture the overall experience. So if you haven't played Prince of Persia, the app is a must-have. Now, this is what the majority of gamers would consider the king of retro games. It is, of course, Tetris. The iPhone update comes with improved graphics and now allows you to play all 15 levels without having to complete any of the previous ones. You also have the option of listening to the music on your phone's iPod rather than the in-game jingles. There's a new magic mode that allows you to go through the set puzzles the computer has stored to collect items that help you get rid of lines faster. So, combining the classic features of the original with the updated features of the iPhone version definitely makes this not one of the best retro games around, but one of the best games to play on any touchscreen device. Well, that's all we've got time for this week, but we will be back next week with more tech news and reviews. In the meantime, you can check out our gaming page for an exclusive interview with the developers of next year's hit first-person shooter Homefront. You can also check out our Facebook and Twitter pages for the latest gossip on the new series. Bye for now.